Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mengs, and today I am finally welcome you guys back to another Advanced Wars replay commentary. Haven't done these in a while. There's a good reason for that. The replay viewer over at Advanced Wars by Web has been in a very bad state for a while now. It's very hard to view replays, they tend to crash a lot. But someone made this amazing program called the Replay Viewer. I see that DJs uses it a lot over on his channel. So I was like, I gotta go check that out. So I downloaded it, and it works beautifully. Really good program. Can really recommend it. I'll throw a link to the video description if you guys want to go check it out for yourself. Allows you to store all your replays in a program, so you don't need to worry about saving those RAR files. Really grateful for that. That was always something I struggled to do. So, today, I want to host this game for you guys, and the reason is, tomorrow, me and DJs, we're going to be hosting Season 2 of the Advanced Wars Grandmasters Tournament. It's finally happening. You guys have been asking forever and ever, and we finally decided to do it. And for that occasion, I wanted to take a look at the finals of the previous tournament, StarFlash vs. Sif. It was an absolutely amazing game, and I really want to show it to you guys. There's also another reason why I'm doing it. I feel kind of rusty, at least when commentating Advanced Wars matches. I haven't done it in a long while, so I was like, I need to warm up. So this is my official warm-up commentary match for tomorrow. So I'm doing it a little bit for myself, too. And also, I just really wanted to go back and take a look at this game because I remember it being a lot of fun to cast live. This was an absolutely wild game. StarFlash and Sif made it all the way to the finals. Sif will sadly not be part of tomorrow's tournament, but StarFlash will. In fact, he's my favorite pick to win the entire thing because he's been on fire lately. He's just been beating everyone. Like, the guy plays so well. And DJs and I, we picked a very interesting map too for the finals. A map that I don't think many people thought we would. It's called Cool Name Island, and it's this whack island map that has battle on two fronts. And there's carriers in the middle on your HQs. These carriers prevent your HQs from being capped very early on, and they also kind of lock down a lot of the zone for air units. Now, you can still capture airports and deploy air units, but as long as the carriers are there, it's very limited where your units can fly. But of course, eventually, these carriers will fall. But personally, my favorite aspect of this map is that you kind of have a strong side, weak side, but you have them in island format. So red player over here has 2 bases versus blue players 1. And down here in the south, it's the opposite. The blue player has 2 bases to the red player's 1. So eventually, red player will capture this island, and blue player will capture this island, turning it into sort of like a north versus south game. And basically, your job is to try and stall out the island for as long as you can with artillery, with mechs. Just try whatever you can to hold on to that island as long as you can. You will lose it eventually. There's no way you're going to hold on to it. But if you can delay your opponent from getting the island for just a turn or two, you will essentially have 1 extra base to work with. At the same time, you don't want to sink too much money into defending the island, because at some point it will turn into a north versus south game, and if you wasted too much money trying to defend your island, you might not be able to keep up with your opponent. So there's a lot of decision making that goes into a game played on this map, and on top of that, both players have 30 minutes on the clock to make their moves. So keep in mind, this is a live game. Both StarFlash and Sif were forced to make very rapid decisions. They still played really well, but this is not indicative of how they normally play. Everyone plays worse in a live game because you have less time. Also, tournament nerves were probably big for both players, so just keep this in mind. So yeah, both players really good. Probably one of the best players in the world. They're incredibly strong. And the matchup was Tier 2 with Nell allowed. So Sif went and picked Nell immediately. No surprise there, she is incredibly strong. A lot of players did not like that we had Nell available as a pick in the tournament, but DJs and I are both suckers for luck damage. We just think it adds a lot of fun to the matches and just makes everything more exciting. So Sif went in and picked Nell immediately. StarFlash surprised everyone with Lash as his pick, even though it's a Tier 2 match. Lash is a Tier 3 CO. So we were very surprised when he saw this. Now, the reason why he picked Lash, and I actually think it's a pretty sound reason, look at all the terrain that you have to work with here. Mountains, cities, forests, and keep in mind, Lash is pretty good at defending, so because her superpower gives her that double defense bonus. So I think StarFlash picked Lash because he wanted to try and hold on to his island for as long as possible, and he probably felt that Lash would be the best CO to do that. Still, very surprising to see Lash in a Tier 2 match, but that's StarFlash for you. He always does weird and whack things. Nell, of course, I would say she's a lot stronger, though you could make the argument that Lash is good against luck because, of course, defense counteracts luck in a very big way. So at the very least, when Lash pops her superpower, Nell is not going to get a lot done with her luck damage. Even if she pops Lady Luck, it's going to be reduced so much at almost no point. But I would still say that Nell probably has the advantage in this match. So anyway, let's just get into it, shall we? So both players just going to build infantry. Of course, since they both start with a lander, and it's very interesting the positioning of this lander, it's actually on land. Lander on land, get it? But you can choose to keep it there, but there's not really a good reason to. You definitely want to use that lander to try and grab some of these islands. There's a lot of fighting over the islands going on this map, so a lot of things to do at once. You got the islands to fight over, you got the carriers in the middle, you got the airports, you got the landers. There's just a lot going on. Very cruel to make people play a map like this in a live game, I will say, especially with only 30 minutes on the clock. But hey, we like putting pressure on our masters. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, Sif builds infantry. Nothing really super exciting going on in the first few days. Both players are pretty much just going to capture properties. However, how they use the landers is going to be a little bit interesting to notice here, because that will be very important. Gotta say, love the way the units move on this replay viewer. How the units like slides back and forth through the map. It looks really good. I really like the little arrows too. Makes it a lot. It makes it very easy to tell the player like what's going on, what units moved where. Really, really good program. I would wish that they would face the direction they were moving, but that's probably something that's coming soon in an update, so I'm hoping that. So here we go. StarFlash builds an artillery. Very solid move. You plonk that artillery down on the city right here. It's going to have 30% extra firepower. It's going to lock down pretty much every attacking angle here. So you definitely want to start off with artillery early on this map. StarFlash loads up his lander. Loads off both of his infantry on the island. No, you may notice that Sif only loaded out one infantry. So I think what Sif has in mind here is to send his lander down and capture this airport. And he can do that because the carriers don't lock down the airports. They lock down your airport, but not the opponent's airports. You can still build air units. It's just that, of course, you have to not fly within the no-fly zone around the carrier, but this isn't necessarily that difficult to do. So it's Sif's turn. Day 4 rolls in. He goes and grabs the cities. He takes the harbor, and yeah, he also sends the lander down to grab that airport. It's not going to be super important for him yet, but what he could do with this airport is he could build a battlecopter, send it down south to guard the island. Again, it really depends on how much gold you're willing to sink into holding your island, because if you do it too much, it might come back to bite you. And Sif builds an artillery as well, so both players having artillery, Sif having the artillery on his strong island, StarFlash having an artillery on his weak island, so very interesting to see. Day 5 rolls in. Love those little fuel icons, by the way. That looks really cool. And he plonks down the artillery. This artillery sits so comfortably on this city right here. Look how strong it is. 30% extra firepower. It's going to hit like hell. Really, really solid. So here we go. StarFlash actually loads his infantry back into the lander and sends it back there, mimicking Sif. He probably saw what Sif did and it was like, yeah, that's actually a better move than sending both of my infantry down here. I actually kind of want to get this island, so I'm going to do that too. He moves his infantry over here. Lash infantry, very strong when they're capping a city. They get essentially 30% extra firepower, so they become Sami infantry, which is very strong. Very hard to interrupt Lash camps. So Sif grabs the city and moves in, sends his artillery forward as well. Both players are going to clash incredibly fast, but so far they're doing pretty well in terms of capturing. Their movements are almost perfectly mirrored, except that Sif is actually going heavy artillery on his strong side island. So 2 artillery right now. So yeah, this is an artillery map right here. Artillery are going to be very strong. So here, StarFlash moves his lander onto this island, and I remember we thought this was a misclick, because why is he just moving his lander here? Wouldn't it make more sense to move his lander down here? Could just be that he wants to move it onto the shoal to pick up some infantry, but I remember both me and D just thought that was a bit of a weird move. So artillery and infantry takes down Sif's infantry on that city, and StarFlash starts to cap the city as well. Here down in the south, StarFlash takes the city, and they're both just taking their cities on their respective islands. But things are gonna start getting chaotic very, very soon. So Sif moves in with his infantry, gets a pretty good shot, and also moves his artillery into position. Now he has 2 artillery to StarFlash's 1, so he definitely has the indirect advantage on this side. And he also follows it up with a tank. So now StarFlash needs to get some units out, but you see, when you're one base up against two bases, like, you are on the clock. There is no way you can hold out forever. Even if you have the defensive advantage, there's no way you can hold out. Like, the opponent will outnumber you 2-1, so it's only a matter of time before you lose. So Sif captures his airport right there, and he prepares a bit of an infantry wall. You can see Sif is not sinking a lot of resources into holding this island compared to StarFlash, who's basically invested in artillery. Sif is just building infantry. He doesn't care. He's like, okay, I'm just going to use cheap fodder to block you for as long as possible, and I'm going to go all in on this island right here, which I think is the proper move, because you don't want to waste too many resources holding onto an island, which is doomed anyway. So StarFlash comes down with his lander, captures his airport, attacks the infantry with his infantry right here, and he builds a tank. So both players investing heavily in the northern island right now. I think that might be a mistake from StarFlash, but we'll see. So day 7 rolls in. Sif takes a shot with his artillery, moves in, loads up that lander, and now he goes for the middle island. So already Sif has a presence here. StarFlash needs to do that as well. There are 4 properties on this island which needs to be taken. You cannot let the opponent get all 4, and of course at some point your carrier is going to come under attack, and that HQ is going to be threatened, so you can't just ignore the middle island. That is a very, very bad idea. So Sif moves his artillery into play, his tank comes in as well, and he is just using his infantry to shield off. He realizes that there's no point. He does build a mech though. Mech's pretty good on this map. You can get a mech up into this mountain. Very hard to dislodge. Does a lot of damage, can fight tanks very evenly. So not a bad idea to build some mechs for sure. Actually, I think StarFlash might have benefited from having some mechs in these mountains. And those delicious lash mechs during superpower. 80% defense, 80% firepower. They are absolutely insane. And double artillery from Sif. So Sif is just going all in on the artillery. 4 artillery right now on the northern island. So this is going to be very, very difficult for StarFlash to defend. I think Sif is playing this beautifully right now. So he captures some more cities. He loads up his lander. He too goes to the island. I can't help but wonder if maybe it would have been better for him to load the infantry off here. Actually, no, it wouldn't, because then Sif could have just attacked him with the infantry. So that's actually pretty smart. Yeah, never mind. That is definitely the correct move. Continues to go for the island. Again, you can see the difference between StarFlash attack on this island and Sif's attack. I mean, they're worlds apart, you know. See here, he has a tank and artillery. Sif has 4 artillery and a tank. So, yeah, definitely investing a lot more into the northern island compared to his opponent. But he is edging his units forward. He's facing off against the big infantry wall here, though. So StarFlash moves in with his tank. He too creates a very good defensive formation. This is going to be tough to fight. It's going to be very tough to fight back. But also keep in mind that StarFlash's artillery, this is not a good position for it because it's on a road. As Lash, you definitely want to try and have your artillery on heavier terrain so you get that juicy firepower bonus. It's still a strong artillery, and in this position it makes sense to put it here. But you definitely want maybe to put it on a harbor or something unless you plan building a battleship or a black boat. So Sif begins his attack here. He edges his artillery and tanks forward, using that 2 HP infantry beautifully to block off the tank. Really well done. And he starts... he actually goes for StarFlash's city, which is cheeky. Now, StarFlash does have a battlecopter, but the carrier protects the infantry, so the battlecopter cannot get close. The only way you can get close to this carrier with an air unit is to build a bomber. But neither player can afford bombers at the moment. So here, StarFlash sends his lander back. He builds an anti-air and a infantry. Of course, the anti-air in response to the battlecopter. StarFlash is definitely going to send that battlecopter to the north to help protect this island. So that anti-air is necessary. So Sif just continues sending his units backwards. He is just going full defense. And does he actually base skip? I need to check. No, he builds that artillery. I thought maybe he left it there, but no. So Sif actually decides to build an artillery here. Only problem with this artillery is that if he wants to shoot with it next turn, he'll base block himself. So it's not that fantastic, but he is just pulling back, full defense mode. He concedes that he will lose this island eventually, but he's going to make it as hard for StarFlash to take it away from him with as few forces as possible. So StarFlash edges forward. He starts capturing the harbor. Moves in as well, but his attack isn't that consequential. He doesn't have that many units. He captures the cities and he takes a shot here. Not a bad engagement, 7-6, it's alright. Nell's luck day to day, you don't really feel it all that much, to be honest. It's only slightly higher than most other COs. So, but StarFlash sends his battlecopter to the south instead of north because he realizes that this anti-air will just shut it down, and he also gets another artillery on his strong island. Here comes a Lash Mech, and there we go, lovely. Now that artillery is in the forest where it belongs. 20% firepower is not as good as the city, but it's definitely an improvement over the road. So day 9 rolls in, and it's Sif's turn. Let's see how he presses his attack, shall we? He moves in, finally gets this little island right here. You cannot neglect the islands on this map. They have valuable properties, which you definitely need to capture. Very important. Takes a shot, actually, instead of capping. So both of the infantry are on 4 HP now, which is pretty nice. And, oh, actually attacks with the tank. So I think that's a relatively decent encounter, but he actually places his tank in range of StarFlash's artillery. So Sif is going all in here, but because he has so many artillery, he can actually afford to do it. Even using his 2 HP infantry on the attack right here. So yes, he's putting a lot of pressure here. He interrupts the cap on the harbor down in the south. Moves in, actually gets some really good engagements right here. So doing a very good job defending, moving the artillery down on the plain right here, builds another mech. It's a beautiful defense by Sif. Okay, it's not going to hold, of course, but at the moment he's doing a good job pushing StarFlash back. So StarFlash is up next. He moves in his battlecopter. Sif still doesn't have an anti-air to deal with that, but he could easily build that next turn. No sense in overreacting and prematurely building it. So, but StarFlash presses his attack right here, comes in with the infantry, takes a good shot on the artillery. He was able to wall break there and actually take a bite out of this artillery. However, he will take a Lash Mech to the face, so how good it is, we'll see. Now, he sends his lander over there to pick up his infantry on the island. Of course, there's no point in keeping it there. He wants to grab this city here at some point. Takes a shot, very good. Pokes the artillery a little bit with his infantry. And yeah, does a pretty good job. Gets a mech shot on the artillery. Of course, I think Sif fully expected that he would lose an artillery in this attack, but he has 3 more artillery to back it up. So next turn is going to hurt for StarFlash. So Sif's turn, rolls in. He moves his damaged artillery back. Beautiful, repairing it. No sense in sacrificing it. Comes in with the anti-air and takes out the mech. Really well done. The artillery bombardment begins in full, and it is absolutely devastating, tearing through StarFlash's infantry. Really well done. These artillery are completely unstoppable at this point. There is no way StarFlash is going to be able to break through here. And here comes the Lucky Star. I remember when he popped the Lucky Star there, me and D was just like, what the hell is going on here? But of course, what he's going for right here is a lot of luck damage down in the south. Now, when Nell pops her Lucky Star, she gets a 60% luck rating, or 59 if you want to be very specific, which means that she can do up to 59% extra damage on her attacks. Of course, it is reduced by defense. This allows her infantry to take crazy good costing effective engagements, if you're lucky with the roll. Theoretically, you could take around 5 HP off an artillery with your infantry, so let's see if it pays off, shall we? Mech attacks, 7 HP of damage. I don't think that was very lucky at all. Of course, luck damage gets reduced by HP, so damaged units are not going to be able to do a lot when you pop your power. Here is the big one, though. Not a good luck roll at all. I think actually this is very unlucky by Sif, actually. Very unlucky Lucky Star. Didn't get a luck roll on the mech, didn't get a luck roll on the infantry versus artillery. He tries again, though, gets the tank, not bad. Kills the artillery. Gets a pretty decent engagement over here. So, all in all, I'd say it was an alright Lucky Star. 5 out of 10 Lucky Star. You know, like B+ Lucky Star. No, not a great Lucky Star, but, you know, he got some damage done. But, of course, the bummer was he didn't damage his artillery right here. He could have easily reduced it to like 4 or 5 HP if he had rolled max luck. I would have rolled max luck because everyone knows I'm very lucky. But then again, you know, not everyone can be as amazing as me. So... Here we go. StarFlash's turn pops in. Of course, the power is still useful because you still get that 10% firepower and defense increase, which, you know, never underestimate the passive boost from your power. I mean, it does make it a lot harder for StarFlash to dislodge Sif away from this defensive position right here. But he is slowly grinding too. And he's doing a pretty good job defending here as well, even though he is up against 3 artillery, soon to be 4 artillery again, because Sif is bringing in yet another infantry. But StarFlash finally getting his island right here. Income-wise, they are actually tied, and unit value-wise, they are also very similar to one another. So both players are doing pretty well on that front. So, However, yeah, StarFlash can actually, well, he won't be able to interrupt this cap, but if he sends his infantry back to get healing, he will have a 2-to-1 infantry advantage eventually against this infantry on the island, which means he can start threatening some of these properties right here. In comes StarFlash's artillery, and he pops terrain tactics. The almost never seen terrain tactics. All it does is it allows Lash to move through terrain at no costs. Of course, you also do get that 10% firepower and defense increase, but very interesting choice. Let's see why he pops it. Of course, it's to get that anti-air shot on the mech, because that anti-air can just waltz through the forests. Really good decision making on the fly there. Of course, it also allows Lash's infantry to sprint over mountains. You basically become Stern for a day, which is kind of nice. But popping a power just to get a mech, I mean, it is a scary mech, don't get me wrong. I get why StarFlash wanted to be rid of it, but to pop that power just for that one mech, I think it was a little bit of a spur of the moment kind of decision. Don't think he necessarily would have made that choice if it wasn't a live match. But hey, that's the beauty of live matches. You don't have a lot of time to make your decisions, so you kind of have to make them on the fly. So Sif continues his artillery bombardment. His artillery placement has been so solid in this match. He plays it beautifully. Now he has that city too, which allows him to resupply this wounded artillery and also kind of keep it in the fight. So really beautiful positioning by Sif here. Really, I am amazed by his play in this match. He plays so well. And he sends his lander out, unloads his infantry, captures his property. Both players almost have all of the contested properties captured at this point. So here, Sif takes a shot at StarFlash's anti-air and moves his artillery back as well. Uses that 1 HP infantry to try and shield this artillery as much as possible, and he pops a medium tank down. So I remember when me and Dejus were casting this live, I think we did look at this as kind of a mistake, because medium tank, sure, it's going to hold the base for a little while, but artillery will eventually blast it down. If you really want to go all in, it might be better to save up for a mega tank, because that thing will not die to artillery fire. It's going to take so many artillery shots to kill it. Medium tanks, not that resilient to artillery fire. They will be blasted down eventually. So, but you know, I think Sif maybe felt he was a little bit ahead here, and maybe he felt more comfortable plunking down this medium tank. But it's 16,000 gold, your funds. You're sinking down into that island, which may not eventually pay off. So. Anyway, StarFlash goes on the attack here. He moves in his artillery. He now has 4 artillery, similar to Sif. And he also has that battlecopter. Of course, he can't move in because that anti-air is still there. And StarFlash doesn't have his tanks in position to deal with it. But he is moving in 2 tanks right now, which is quite good. Moves back his anti-air and continues capping his properties. So here, StarFlash is building a tank. Don't really understand what this tank is supposed to do in this situation. I think maybe it might just be time to just concede this island right now. But I think he's seeing that Sif is holding onto this island really hard, so maybe he thought, I'm going to hold on to this island as well. I don't want to lose it just yet. So day 12 rolls in, and it's Sif's turn. And he actually moves in with his medium tank and takes a shot here at the artillery, which, I mean, it's you're kind of sacking it because there's 2 artillery in range, but, you know, you got to do what you got to do, I guess. Also gets a shot on this artillery, which is kind of nice, and he builds an infantry. And we can see that Sif is conveniently saving up some money here, and I think you know where this is going. Now, in comes the march of the artillery, man. There's so many of them. There is no way StarFlash is going to be able to hold onto this island for much longer. This is why I said a mech on this base probably would have been a better choice, because a mech, a tank, they die pretty much the same to artillery anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So, but he is taking a shot at StarFlash's infantry. Sif has a slight income lead of 20,000 to StarFlash's 18,000, although StarFlash is capping that property right now. So, and here comes the artillery shelling. The battlecopter actually comes in as well. And the tank dies. Now, I'm kind of surprised that StarFlash actually didn't go for this anti-air with this tank. I don't know if that would have been possible. He probably needed to move this battlecopter over here. I'm actually going to check that one more time because I'm wondering. So here, well, this forest is kind of preventing him from doing that. 1, 2, 3, yeah, okay. So this forest, unless he has terrain tactics, he's not going to be able to reach this thing. What he could have done is he could have moved this infantry over into the mountains, moved in the tank, taken a shot at the anti-air, and then moved in his battlecopter. I think that would have been a superior choice. He would have foregone the city, but he also would have retained his battlecopter, which I think would have been very important there. Now, never mind. He moved in his tank anyway. But never mind. I'm stupid. He had a second tank. Never mind. I should know better than to question masters. But again, that's why we replay commentary. So StarFlash is valiantly defending his base right here. Gets a good shot on the artillery, but Sif still has three healthy artillery. He still has 3 healthy artillery to go, 1 artillery at 6 HP, so he can afford to take some losses here, and he knows it. But StarFlash is doing a good job, like, just chipping down the anti-air, so theoretically maybe he could build a battlecopter to defend, but Sif would be able to reinforce with an anti-air pretty quickly anyways. It doesn't really matter. He combines together here to do a cap, which is pretty good, and a battlecopter does indeed come out of the airport, so let's see which way it goes. Day 13 rolls in, and Sif, notice how much money he has. You know what's coming. You know what's coming. Artillery bombardment commences, and here comes the Lady Luck superpower. 99% luck, ladies and gentlemen. You have a chance to just pretty much wipe out everything. Of course, it's after defense, so if you're fighting something on a city, it's like maximum 70% extra damage. But let's check out the luck roll, shall we? So he gets a what engagement was that again? That was a, let's see. Okay, artillery, decent. So tank wipes out, that's very good. Gets a maximum luck roll on that one, I'm fairly certain. That's very strong. So his infantry are coming in. Sends out an artillery on the island, so now Sif is applying pressure, because of course this artillery can damage the carrier. You definitely don't want to let your opponent take down your carrier, because then suddenly they have a airspace that they can utilize, and also they can threaten your HQ, so you gotta be very careful about that. So here we go. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Infantry versus 7 HP anti-air. Boom. Dead. Very strong. And he even goes for the battlecopters with his infantry. Doesn't get a good luck roll, but he plonks down the battleship. And I went absolutely ballistic when I saw this. Sadly, though, I don't think this is a very good play. And I think they just agreed with me, because there's just too many artillery around here. Now, there's no artillery in direct range of the battleship, but you do have the battlecopter. And the battlecopter, it doesn't do a lot of damage to the battleship on a harbor, but it will slowly whittle it down. So, and you'll also suffer quite a lot of repair costs if you keep it there. So that's something you need to keep in mind. So StarFlash's turn rolls in, and he pretty much commences his attack. And he moves in like 1,000,000 artillery in range of that battleship. So that battleship will be shelled to high heaven. It's not going to last very long, sadly. A fun maneuver, but a very expensive way to sink 28,000 funds into a big hole in the ground. So it's kind of like the Jess Lash mission in the campaign, where, you know, Jess just bathes Lash's battleship in artillery fire, you know. One of my favorite missions. Such a cool mission. So StarFlash actually builds a medium tank, so he takes kind of like a page shot of Sif's playbook here and is like, yeah, I'm just going to spend a lot of money on defending this island. I don't really think this is a good move, because there's just so many artillery here. I think just cut your losses, build an infantry, and call it a day. Just focus everything you have on the other island, and save funds where you can, because at this point you're not holding your island. I think both players kind of a little bit too stubbornly, in my opinion, held on to their islands for a little bit too long. But Sif's turn begins, and you can see just the artillery bombardment is devastating. So much artillery fire on this map, just bathing that medium tank. Not able to completely kill it, but surrounding it so that if it wants to take a shot, it has to base block itself. So that's the problem with a map like this. Takes a decent shot with the battleship, but the artillery don't really think he got lucky there. However, Lash's superpower is ready next turn, and that's going to be pretty devastating. So, day 15 pops in, and in comes the Prime Tactics. Let's go. So, doubled terrain stars for all of Lash's troops, and she's able to move through terrain freely. Let's see what happens. Comes in with the battlecopter. Very good. Is able to free the medium tank from the base. So that's really strong. Sadly, though, has to take an engagement on a road, which is never good during a Lash superpower, but builds another medium tank. This medium tank has 70% extra defense, actually, because you also get the 10% baseline. So you're not going to kill this medium tank for another turn. Might as well just not attack it, conserve your ammo, you know? Gets a nice Lash infantry mountain hit on the artillery here. 40% extra firepower, 80% actually, really good. And starts shelling the battleship as well. Not really doing a lot of damage to it, but brings, actually, never mind, had a healthy artillery right there. Boom goes the battleship. Yeah, that's a very expensive 28,000 funds that just evaporated. So not a good decision by Sif. I love him for building a battleship, but it was not a very good idea. What the hell is this delay? Oh, oops. Looks like you can actually set it to autoplay. I didn't actually know that. Oh, wow, interesting. Huh. Cool. I don't really see why I would do that, though. I want the replay to move at my pace. Thank you very much. So, day 15 rolls in. Both players are... StarFlash is actually ahead now, by quite a bit too. Of course, he's about to lose 2 medium tanks, but yeah, that battleship really sets Sif back. In comes the Lucky Star, 40% luck rating, sorry, 60%, 40% there's Rachel. Nell gets the full 60%. Good artillery shot right there. Rolls pretty low on this one. Only dealt a single HP of damage. That was a very low roll. Could have tried to take on the... Well, actually, no, it doesn't matter, because this medium tank is has a lash superpower, so it doesn't matter how high your luck roll is, you're not going to deal any damage anyway. In comes the anti-air. Pretty decent attack right there. Uses the artillery once again to block the medium tank, forcing the battlecopter to attack here if it wants the medium tank out. But StarFlash actually being a little bit annoying here. So actually playing it really well, but he is starting to cap the properties now. So, Sif is starting to capture StarFlash's properties. So StarFlash he's actually holding on pretty well, but it's only a matter of time before he will lose out now. So, but Sif decides to send more troops down to the island. The battle for the middle island is about to begin, and Sif is in a very good spot because he already has artillery down there. Sif is he's holding on to this base, but he will lose it this turn. So day 16 rolls in, and yeah, look at that. Last of Sif's units are about to fall. The base is under attack, and that is the last unit. So actually, StarFlash ended up taking the island before Sif took his island, which is something I would not expect, but again, that's the power of Lash and her superpower. Bought him that extra turn, but I don't think it quite holds up to Nell's insane luck. So, builds another medium tank. The amount of money that he's sinking into this is absolutely insane, but at this point, I almost think it might be worth it, because, again, I mean, this is a base that Sif is not going to be able to get. So maybe it is worth it to sink a little bit of money. If either player would have been able to save up for a mega tank, I think it would have been a very good move, because a Lash mega tank on a base, it would not die to artillery fire. It would almost be impossible to kill it. You would need either rockets or a mega tank of your own to deal with it, or a bomber from the airport. So that would have been really cool to see, but 28,000 is a lot. That being said, Sif built a battleship. Imagine if he'd built a mega tank instead. Would have been a lot better, I think. So in comes the infantry, and now, like, as you can see right now, now we'll go over to a more of a traditional north versus south fight with tons of islands and air units, but of course those carriers still locking down the airports. So those carriers will need to be dealt with before any air units can come into play and be effective. And keep in mind, it's a live match. Like, when you're playing this match in a standard format, you can kind of like take your time, look at the carrier's range, and just, okay, all right, this is where it can attack, and you can slowly plan out your movements. But keep in mind, both these players were starting to run low on time at this point. It's very stressful to keep tabs on a freaking carrier while you're playing a live match. That is the possibility of running a very expensive unit into that carrier's range is very high in a match such as this. So it's a lot of margin for error here. So Sif starts to take the properties. He commences his artillery bombardment, but he still is not able to really dislodge that medium tank from StarFlash. Of course, he's been able to trap it, but that medium tank is still being very annoying. So StarFlash actually doing a pretty good job here. So yeah, here you see this, the first victim of the carrier right here. Sends the battlecopter in, boom, gets it shot down. It's just, it will happen. It will happen in a match such as this. It's just, you might think, oh, these 1,500 rated players and making basic mistakes like moving into the range of a carrier. I would never do this. Just imagine what it would be like to play in a final in a tournament with like hundreds of people watching you. And you're on the clock on top of that with 2 people commentating and talking about all the bad things you're doing. Very easy to make a mistake like this, even if you're one of the best. So, yeah, that carrier gets to shoot. StarFlash once again being very annoying, sending in another battlecopter. Look, there's no anti-air to deal with it. Only anti-air that Sif has here is on 2 HP. So StarFlash is just being really annoying, holding on to that island like it is the most important thing in his life. He starts to combine together some of his units to get extra funds, which is really clever. I like that a lot. In this match, you don't have time to sit back and repair. You need to get units into the action right away. So combining units together to get extra funds, very viable strategy. You may also notice that both players are very low on fuel on their landers, so they need to resupply them fast. You really don't want to crash your lander. It's a very important unit. So in comes the bomber. Check the range. It's just on the outskirts of the carrier range. And Sif finally is able to dislodge that incredibly annoying medium tank. I do believe he got a few lucky rolls there. But that is what it's like playing Nell. And Sif is now starting the attack on the carriers, moving in his artillery here. This carrier is going to start taking damage very soon. And StarFlash absolutely has to respond to this right now. He cannot leave that carrier unattended. Day 18 rolls in, 12 days left. There's a 30-day time limit on this match, so every property counts. StarFlash is ahead 2 properties right now, though, but Sif will capture these properties very soon. So in comes the artillery and the infantry. The battlecopters trying to do something here to interrupt the caps. I think this is pretty cool. But, and, you know, it's not like this battlecopter can be challenged, so I actually think StarFlash is doing a very good job here. Moves in with the tank, and, yeah, they're both slugging it out in the island right here. StarFlash, of course, can't really do much with this fighter, because this carrier just locks it down. But here comes the stealth fighter. And, of course, stealth fighter, they were not banned on this map. We intentionally kept them in to keep the match wild. Stealth fighter is very scary because, of course, if they stealth, the carrier cannot shoot them. The only thing that can shoot a stealth fighter when it's stealth is another fighter or another stealth fighter. So this pretty much forces Sif to build a fighter of his own or a stealth fighter. But what's genius is he can keep the stealth fighter within range of his own carrier and thus prevent it from being shot down by a fighter. This is very smart by StarFlash again. He really knows how to see, he really knows how to exploit the tiniest of situation to his advantage. Very good at that. Sif may be a more solid player in a more standard format, but I think StarFlash is much better at being innovative. So, Sif starts capping the base because of the interrupt on the battlecopter. He's not going to get this base right away, so it's actually really good. Takes a shot on the battlecopter, though, and does do quite a lot of damage to it. I do believe he got a little bit lucky there, too. So, here we go. Oh, sorry, looks like I started up the auto replay thingy. So apparently if you right click, then you can get it to autoplay, which is kind of cool, but not something I'm interested in for a commentary. So here comes the bomber, and look at that, moving it into the minimum range of the carrier, but still having it guarded by his carrier. So StarFlash can send in his fighter to shoot on the bomber, but then the fighter dies next turn. So that is really cool. Both players really taking advantage of these carriers. Of course, StarFlash carrier is on 7 HP now. I think carriers have the same attack strength as missiles, so if they are damaged, they're not going to be able to one-shot fighters and bombers anymore. But he moves in his fighter anyway. And he also sends his battlecopter back. Now, this is a big one. So he did stealth his fighter right here, and you can see that because it's transparent. For some reason, when Deejus and I were casting this match, the replay glitched, or the match glitched, and the stealth fighter did not show up as being stealth. So me and Deejus thought he misclicked here and forgot to stealth his stealth fighter, and we didn't learn until after the match that he actually did stealth his fighter. It just didn't show up for whatever reason. But something insane is about to happen, and you will see now. And actually, StarFlash building an APC to keep his lander alive. What a bro. So, but something really crazy happens. So, StarFlash moves in right here with his infantry. He's now preparing to transport them up to the northern island. One thing that makes it really tough about this island is that you don't have that many points to unload your units. If you can see right here, you only got a few shoals, and if the islands start to clog up, then it can become incredibly hard to actually reinforce your island. So that's something you got to keep in mind. It's very important to be one of the first people out to get these islands. So, however, something is about to happen to the stealth fighter. So here we go. Sif pops his Lady Luck. He kills the carrier, so now the carrier is gone. He kills the fighter, and he spots the stealth fighter with an infantry. Devastating move for StarFlash right here. So I don't think he predicted that this would happen. In comes the fighter, shoot down the stealth fighter. That is a game-ending sequence of moves right there. This Lady Luck was absolutely devastating. I think he rolled really high on all of his attacks right here. And for StarFlash, losing that stealth fighter, that was practically GG. However, I do believe he goes on to fight a little bit longer. Because it's a tournament, it's a finals, he doesn't want to give up prematurely, but that was a huge blow. As you can see, Sif is far ahead in unit value right now. Even though StarFlash was able to hold on to his island, a lot longer than Sif. Now both of the islands are lost, but the problem is right now Sif has a carrier, StarFlash does not. So Sif has complete air domination in this area. StarFlash cannot fight him there. He cannot fight this fighter, it's going to get shot down. So it's only a matter of time before Sif wins this now. There's also no reliable way that StarFlash can take the carrier away from him, because Sif has that island completely locked down. But StarFlash, to his credit, he valiantly puts up a fight. He doesn't want to just give Sif an easy win. He wants to keep fighting, but now Sif is capturing the HQ. It is devastating. He's taking the island. He's moving in, bomber after bomber, supported by the carrier. There is absolutely no way StarFlash can hold on to this. He does pop Prime Tactics, though. It's a fun power, but it's not going to help him. It's not really going to be able to do much of anything. Air Battle, not really Lash Forte. This is where Nell is really a lot stronger than Lash, because she does get that insane luck damage to all her air units. Lash only does her bonuses with ground units, and this has turned into an air battle, as you can see right here. Sif pops the Lucky Star, moves in. Here comes the coup de grace, combines the infantry, just moves in. It is absolutely relentless. There is nothing StarFlash can do at this point. But, to his credit, he keeps going on, but then he throws in the towel, and Sif wins the Grandmasters tournament. This was an absolutely insane match, so much fun to cast live, really fun to go back and take a look at it. I really hope that the finals that we end up getting tomorrow is as exciting as this one. We've picked an absolutely crazy map, so I'm very excited to see how the players are going to tackle it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this replay commentary. I'm definitely going to do a lot more of them from now that I got this amazing program. Thank you so much for watching, and definitely remember to tune in tomorrow for the Grandmasters tournament. You do not want to miss it, guys. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Anyway, leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe if you want to see more Advanced Wars replay commentaries. My name's been Mangs. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.